Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where an actual statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides. This college basketball episode covers select games scheduled to be played on Thursday, December 8th, 2022. You should check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for a primer. What we're about here, some goals, community rules, etc. As always, remember, there are no locks and gambling. So what Sideline provides are loves, likes, and leans, and its A, B, and C grades indicate its confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. We're only going to cover a subset of today. No, we're actually not. We're going to cover every game in today's episode. First time all season, every single game. So I'd say for the full slate of picks, but you are going to get them all here. But you don't forget the Google Sheet has all the projections, totals, everything for every single day. That link is in the show description and on the website homepage. As always, take what you like and leave the rest. If you have questions about these or other games, the best place to get those answered is in our Discord chat, which can be accessed through Patreon. Link is below on the ticker. Lastly, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as we'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, how are you doing on this Wednesday night?
Doing great. Tennessee took care of business, so it's not much more than I can ask for.
They did. They kind of had me a little bit nervous for a while. They're kind of hanging
11 and a half or something like that.
Yeah. At some point I looked, it was in the second half. They were up like 17, 18. And I was like, what number did we lay on that? And I saw the number later. I was like, oh my gosh, we laid a really big number. And thankfully they ran away and took care of business at the end. Right.
Yeah. I wasn't able to watch the game. I was doing some other stuff. And like I looked at it, it was 11 and a half. I said, it's not great, but still time. And then I looked at one point in the second half, it was like barely 20. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Next time I looked at it, they were up 40, and I said, what happened?
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Yeah. I didn't see it either. It was not one of the games on my screens because why would it have been? But thankfully they took care of business at the end for us. That was good. All right. Well, before we get to today's show, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications, you'll miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. I already mentioned the Patreon, but check it out if you haven't yet. Lots of great benefits to be found over there above and beyond what we do here. Membership starts just $3 per month. www.patreon.com/pickswiththeprofessor. Reminder, all the picks get posted there when I lock them. $10 a month. Who knows what they are by the time the show airs? Sometimes they move different directions. So if you want to get the numbers that we are getting, that's how you do it. But even if you're not there, we're still thrilled to have you watch and hear. Let's get to it. All lines courtesy of Bet Online. Sign up link in the show description and current as the time of this recording on Wednesday night. Jake, this is very reminiscent of Monday's episode. There are two A plays. The one that you like, the A+ play of the day, 7 p.m. Central, Iowa State +5 at Iowa. Sideline says this should be Iowa -4, so we're getting a little bit of value here in two teams that have looked pretty solid so far this season. Iowa State, I think, overperforming expectations a little bit more. Iowa, we thought would be good and has been mostly good. Last game against Duke notwithstanding. Iowa State's been a team that's, for the most part, played pretty well. Two teams that aren't, eyeing 1 or 2 seeds in the tournament, right? But two teams that are, I think at this point, solidly eyeing March Madness the way they're playing. Why do you think it's the right call to grab the 5 points with the Cyclones here in this rivalry game on Thursday night?
Yeah, this should be a great game. If it wasn't an A play, it would have been the must-see TV one. It's a very, very good game. It's going to be very tight. I think that's a big part of that is due to how Iowa plays. Like in their 2 losses to TCU and Duke, they shot sub-20 from a 3-point percentage, and both those teams are very good defensive first teams, and that's exactly what Iowa State is, a very good defensive first team. Fred McCaffrey is the definition of teams of live by 3, die by the 3. It's a little better this year. They're a little worse shooting than most years, but he still treats it with the same. We're going to run up and down the court, jack up threes, and more times than not, we'll outscore our opponent more than we hold them down. And it just doesn't seem to be quite working as well this year, like against good teams. Mm-hmm. They're beating mediocre teams and bad teams like they should. It's just they're not pulling off upsets yet. And Iowa State is playing very well. They're 2-1 as an underdog. All you have to do is really look at the St. John's game. Not that they were underdog there, but they took a team that ran fast and wanted to score a lot and put the brakes on them. And that's exactly what's going to happen here, I believe. And being at home might change things for Iowa. Some shots might go in. That's why I'm not ready to take the Iowa State on the money line, but getting 5, I think, is a really, really good option here.
Yeah, Iowa State's defense, like you said, can be the real difference maker. And of course, you talk about the three ball, and I don't know, I feel like a broken record with college basketball. And the people in the Discord know we've talked about it. We've joked about it, right? I always joke about how I hate college basketball, and a lot of it is so much because of the three ball. Because when the two teams hit around their season averages, you have a general feel of how the game's going to play out, and you're going to miss some, absolutely, but you kind of have a good feel for it. But when one team's just hitting, they're not hitting, everything goes sideways, and that's kind of if you back to Iowa in those two losses, I think the model was on Iowa both times, and they just completely shot horribly from three. There's nothing you could do about it. The game we just talked about here on Wednesday night, the Penn State Michigan State game.
Penn State
we absolutely talked about that 3-point shooting, and that's exactly what happened. Michigan State shoots almost 50% from three. Penn State misses like 18 3-pointers or some ridiculous number like that. They don't have a chance. And that's kind of the same way with these teams shoot the three ball a lot. We always talk about it's not about the one game. We're not about it's about taking the totality of them, right? And that's kind of what we're saying here again. In general, this is the type of game where we think getting 5 points at Iowa State makes a lot of sense. But in one game, if Iowa goes cold, Iowa State's going to win this game outright. And if Iowa gets on fire, they're going to win by 15. So with one game, who the heck knows what's going to happen? We're talking about, in the long run, trying to make a bunch of smart plays, grabbing the points where it makes sense a lot of times. And in the long run, it will balance out. In the one game, who knows how the three ball is going to go. It can make this maddening. It can make it fun. It can make it a roller coaster. That's why I always talk about looking at the big picture and not just the one game, because the one game can get pretty wild.
Yeah, it's hard to do on these short slates because it feels so much bigger than what it is. But on a short slate like this.
Well, and it's the same, even just picking a handful of games like this. It's why I always encourage people to check out the Google Sheet, right? Hit us up in the Discord. If you kind of, that's what we do over there. The model have an A grade on a game or a B grade or a number will move, and people will check, hey, how does everyone feel about this? We'll kind of give a little bit of input or whatever, trying to get at least help it where it's not just this, where it doesn't feel so big on the one game or the two games, where it's a little bit more out there where you can kind of say, hey, I had 15 plays and 5 of them kind of went wonky one way, 5 of them went wonky the other way, 5 of them went just like I thought, and overall we went 9-6. That's kind of what I'm preaching here, at least. But yeah, on a slate like tonight with 8 games, you literally can't do that. You only got 8 of them to choose from. It should absolutely be a great game. I'm going to give you another A play, though. The other A play, I actually like this one on the money line. Marshall +2. Sideline says they should be favored by about a point and a half. Duquesne has overperformed model expectations, but Marshall has overperformed them by even more. It's a pretty solid pick. It's the one that the model likes the most. I like grabbing the 2 or just taking the money line with Marshall here. And another one, this total, at least for right now, is 151. Sideline has it at 154. I would go over the 151 personally. I just think there'd be a lot of points in this one. Neither team plays great defense. Both teams play great offense. And Marshall's really going to push the tempo of this one. They're one of the fastest teams in the country. Yeah,
Marshall seems to drag teams to that pace because it's kind of like, I don't know, for everybody that's played basketball out there, it is a lot more fun to play that up and down game than it is to go slow and take your time.
Right.
So they kind of get teams playing their game just because they just get drug into it. And it's a lot of fun to watch them play because they go so fast. And I think there'll be a lot of points in this one. And I agree. I think Marshall should win this one outright.
Yeah, so I think I said Marshall plus odds I think makes a lot of sense on this one if that's still available whenever you're seeing this show. That'll take us to our best B side, handful of B grade plays for us. The best one here that we're going to talk about 8 p.m. Central, St. Thomas getting 6 points at Montana State. Look, St. Thomas, pretty good offense, and that's really all we need to talk about because there's only one half to the game, and that's offense, and that's how St. Thomas lives, and that's how we're going to live today, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not worrisome backing the team with almost the worst defense in the NCAA. We're just going to avoid that part of the conversation.
Don't need to talk about it.
Yeah, but they are, like you said, they're actually an incredible offense.
Mm-hmm.
They're top 5 in effective field goal percentage, top 10 in 3-point percentage. They also hit 70+% of their free throws. Their offense should be good enough to keep them in most games, especially against these goodish teams like Montana State. They're
average, mediocre.
Yeah, they're just. I don't think they're, like I said, they're a very average, very mediocre team that I don't think can pull away. And getting +6 is a really good thing here. Like St. Thomas is making almost 10 threes a game, and Montana State is giving up 7 to 8 that range. So I think it's going to be very easy to see that get extended to 10. or so, like St. Thomas, just with the way St. Thomas finds good shots. They work their offense around it. It's their offense is really the key here. Montana State really hasn't gone against a team that has this kind of offense, and I think they're going to be a very tight game. Montana State should win, but it's going to be very tight from the go.
Yeah, tight game here. Getting 6 points makes a lot of sense. Good plus odds on the money line here. Wouldn't be bad to throw a flyer on it. I kind of feel like my take on this game is I don't know what's going to happen. Both teams are both pretty mediocre, pretty average across the 300 some odd teams. Don't really know what's going to happen. Sure, the home team's probably more likely to win than not, and they should be favored, but they shouldn't be favored quite like this. I think who knows what's going to happen. Should be a fun one. Grab 6 points, grab the money line, and just say it should be an interesting, entertaining game. So, having points or plus odds in your pocket makes a lot of sense for it.
Yeah, the first game of the year, Thomas hung right with Creighton all game. We ended up losing by 12, and I don't think there's just 6 points difference between Montana State and and
no, for sure. A lot more than 6 there. I'll give you a bonus B-side. And look, my take on this one's basically the same thing we just said. Colorado State getting 5.5 at Colorado. These two teams are better than the previous two. These two teams are both solid, but they're both kind of pretty close to each other, right? Colorado might be a little bit better, but not by that much. Where Colorado has a huge home court advantage is with the altitude, the travel spot. It's hard to, it's awkward, hard to get there, whatever. And it's a tough spot. We always talk about teams playing Utah and Colorado in those back-to-back Pac-12 spots, one on a Thursday, one on a Saturday, one on a Friday, one on a Sunday. It's really tough, especially the second one you're playing. Not an issue here for Colorado State. Just down the road, should be a lot easier to get to it. They should be used to the altitude. That goes away. I think it's the same story as the St. Thomas one. I have no idea what happens. Just grab points, grab plus odds. I think it's a pretty solid investment because I think that the favorites in both of these games that we're talking about here in the Mountain Time Zone are just favored by a little bit too much in games that should be really interesting games. So I think you got a good chance to cash here with the underdog out there in Colorado.
Yeah, totally agree. Colorado's a very inconsistent team. All it takes for them not to show up for a quarter of the game, and the Colorado State covers here.
Yeah, you talk about a team that can really look good or look bad from one game to another. Colorado's one of them, absolutely. That'll take us to the Jake on a Limb segment, one where the model hasn't – I haven't actually locked in a play out on the model on this one because the model pegs it pretty close to the actual number. Utah is favored by 14.5 at home against Jacksonville State. Sometimes it should be 14.8. So I'm just kind of sitting back, wanting to see what happens in the morning, where the number moves to, because right now it's a pretty dead heat according to the model. Jake, you think there's an edge to be had there? What is that edge?
Yeah, we kind of just talked about it. Utah at home is a different world, especially coming from Jacksonville. They're a very, very good team at home, just like their football team is a very, very good team at home. They just absolutely handled Arizona by 15. A lot of points of that game was even worse than 15. I don't think Jacksonville's got the talent, the horses, however you want to phrase it, to stay in this game. I think Utah gets up early and runs away with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a reason why they're favored by a big number, but we're always talking about with these big numbers, trying to identify the games where you really think it could get out to 20 early in the second half, and that's absolutely possible with Utah's how well they play at home. That's the angle that you're taking on this one. I'll also throw out there for you, right now the total is 132.5. Be going over that total personally. I just think Utah's going to basically name their score here in a situation where they've got a pretty solid offense and Jacksonville State, not a very good defense. So they'll be able to score as much as they want.
Yeah, totally agree with that. The over looks really good because I think Utah's going to be able to just run through this. And I don't understand why they're not getting as much respect from the rate, like Ken Palm ratings and BPI and all that. Like I'm not sure what they're seeing that I'm not.
Yeah, you would have thought after the Arizona game they would be getting a little more, but maybe it'll take another time or two. It could have to do with the turnovers. Yeah. We talked about them struggling with that. I think what helps us here is that Jacksonville State, probably not a team built to force quite the turnovers. That's something they'll have to work on for conference and something for us to keep an eye out. Which teams in the Pac-12 look like they're forcing a lot of turnovers. That might be where Utah's a little more susceptible. Probably not going to be an issue here on this non-conference game, though. All right, and that takes us to the Professor on a Limb. I got a C-grade play here I'm going to talk about. 6 p.m. Central, Rutgers at Ohio State. Look, my analysis on this one, is pretty simple. Sideline says it's Ohio State minus 5.5, but also says to lay the 6 with Ohio State. You don't see that every day of the week. Or if you do, it's only because there's a lot of games. And so with that said, I think we should back Ohio State laying the 6. My analysis is pretty simple. Rutgers is incredible at home, not very good on the road. In the Big Ten, home court is king. I mean, it's just some of the best advantages. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. It's not going to always hold true, but more times than not, that home court in the Big Ten is going to really matter. And Rutgers playing away from home. I just think laying it with Ohio State makes a lot of sense. It's a game where I think they can either pull away in the second half or they're up something like 4 or 5 with a minute to go. If the foul game starts happening and Ohio State ends up winning by something like 8. So I'm going to lay it with Ohio State there in a Big Ten conference game on Thursday night.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit last night. It's back Rutgers at home, fade them on the road. They just I don't understand. It's year after year. They somehow figure out to be really good at home and forget how to play basketball when they leave New Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. The other Big Ten game is going to fall in our must-see TV segment, Michigan at Minnesota. Michigan's a 4.5-point road favorite. Sideline has locked this in as a B grade play, laying the 4.5. So it should be 5.3. The model is 6-2 in games involving Michigan, 5-2 in games involving Minnesota. Michigan not losing a key player, I believe, in their last game, but still should have enough to get this done. We just talked about the home court advantage in the Big Ten mattering, but in this one, I just think there's a big enough difference between Michigan and Minnesota that Michigan should be able to get the road victory. They aren't close enough for that to really matter and help Minnesota out, I think. Jake, why is Michigan minus 4.5 a good investment?
Look, I don't think we should overthink it. There's not a ton of difference between Edey and Dickinson. They're both of them are 7 foot, very good with their back to the bucket.
Kind of good-ish.
Yeah. I know Lowell was the guy you just talked about towards ACL done for the year, but I don't think losing him hurts them enough to not cover this number. They've got Joey Baker who can step up and hit some extra threes. Kobe Buffkin and Jet Howard are playing really good. That all they have to do is just step it up just a little bit on the offensive end, because it wasn't like Llewellyn was playing great, wasn't doing as good as they thought he was. I think he was only averaging 7 points, so it's not a huge offensive loss. Defense is where it kind of hurts a little bit. It's force some guys to play some more minutes that they might not be ready for. But Minnesota's not the team. It's a good team to have this for your first game without him. Like, it's a good team to practice on. They've kind of been struggling here, losing their last 3. They shoot absolutely terrible from the free throw line. It's in the 50s. It's really bad. Like, there's at this point, there's only 2 teams worse than them. Out
of 300 and some odd?
Yeah. I think they're like 361 or something like that.
Surprising that a Power 5 conference team has that distinction. You would have thought it would be some team that just can't get athletes, right? Can't get shooters. It's really surprising that a team from the Big Ten is that low in free throw percentage.
I mean, this is according to Ken Palm. Like they were. He doesn't typically make mistakes.
Typically no. It's early in the season, so maybe they won't be quite that bad, but it's still bad. There's enough data at this point to say it's not good. It's not good either way.
I mean, part of it is the lack of getting to the free throw line. So, but they don't do it that often, so a miss counts as more percentage wise than it should. That's also another reason to fade them is they're not very aggressive on offense, so they're not getting extra opportunities or forcing things at the free throw line. And their defense is nothing special. They just don't have the talent here. They're not ready for this. This Michigan team, when they're hitting threes, is very, very good. And even when they're not, they're still a good team because Dickinson is a monster in the paint. And Minnesota just got absolutely railed by Edey, and I don't think there's anything they're going to be able to do different to stop Dickinson.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, and hopefully there's not a team that you forget. Someone in the comments can be like, "Oh, you forgot about so." Minnesota, worst team in the Big Ten at this point. I mean, Nebraska's on the rise at least, right? So obviously Nebraska be in that conversation, but is Minnesota the worst one?
And they're putting up a fight for it.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Nebraska. I mean, so it's hard to say, like, because Rutgers is not a very good team overall,
right?
But at home, that makes a big difference. You got Minnesota there. I'm trying to remember everybody in the Big Ten.
The problem is there's like 14 teams now, so it's like trying to go through them all.
I mean, they're definitely not better than USC or UCLA.
Touche.
Yeah.
Well, I know Rutgers is actually a little higher in a lot of the rankings than I would have expected about them.
Yeah.
I would have thought they would have been a lot closer, but I know there's a lot of rank systems that really like Rutgers, what they offer this year. And I don't know how much that's the home court, whatnot, but they're up there a little bit. Michigan State was a little bit up and down, but they, of course, getting the win. And Penn State's not great, but I think a lot of places will say Penn State's better. Nebraska's win over Creighton, I think, would probably put them ahead of Minnesota, I would think, right now.
Yeah. If I were picking, like, even without the Creighton game, I would have said it's between Nebraska and Minnesota this year. But after Nebraska went in, probably banking on Minnesota being the bottom of the Big Ten.
The reason I say that is when you think about the conference play, and we talked about this before with the Big Ten, I do think it's going to be just a bloodbath there. It wouldn't surprise me if the team that wins this conference has 3, 4, maybe even 5 conference losses. That seems a little bit less likely, but it wouldn't be impossible just with all the really good teams. And you look at it and you say, like, going to Minnesota is like, you got to get that as the road win, because if you can't win at Minnesota, like, where are you going to win at, right? I mean, maybe Nebraska, maybe. But I mean, we talk about Rutgers. It's hard to win there. Penn State, Michigan State getting that win at Penn State was a really good one, because Penn State also at the bottom. That's another one, right? You got to get the easier road wins, and this is a spot for Michigan to do it. Obviously, they could win this and not cover, but you have to think there's a good enough motivation here to go in and take care of business and say, look, we're gonna have a tough conference schedule. This is a road win we can go out and get. We got to go get it tonight, right?
Yeah, especially with an unbalanced schedule, you got to hit your road ones that you can, because, like, I mean, Michigan is kind of lucky here, right? They get Purdue at home is the only time they see them. Like, so when you have things like that, you've really got to take advantage of when you get a bottom tier road game in your conference, you've really got to take advantage of it.
Look with the unbalanced schedule, because you might not get. You might get all tough road games, right? So if you get an easy, you got to take advantage of it. So anyway, a long way to say we're going to back Michigan there, getting models, giving that a B grade, and you like laying the 4.5 as well. That'll take us to overtime. The last game, for the first time all season, we are covering every single game. We did it for all baseball season. We covered all the games, but have it harder to do that in college basketball. We're doing it tonight. The last game we haven't talked about, 6 p.m. Central. UMass Lowell at Massachusetts. 2 teams that we covered on Monday. UMass Lowell got the cover for us. UMass was ahead by like 20 some odd. We talked about this. I think because Jared and I talked about this. They were ahead huge and then just stopped playing and didn't quite cover. They covered some people's number, but both teams really took care of business earlier in the week, coasted to easy victories. Now they're playing each other. It's hard to say which team's the better team here. According to some metrics say UMass is a better team. Some say UMass Lowell's the better team. Obviously, you're not giving UMass a huge home court edge in this one, being a cross-town game, not a lot of travel involved. Sideline says it should be UMass -2. The actual line, UMass -2. So it hasn't locked in a pick as of now. We'll see what sort of movement happens in the morning, but it should be a tight, interesting ball game. Total on this one set at 144. Jake, what's your play for us?
Yeah, I'm going to take the over at 144, because I can't imagine picking a side. These teams are mirror images of each other. They play fast. They got a better defense than they do offense. They both average in the 70s. I don't know how you pick a side in this game, but the over seems to be really good play to me. It's set at 144. I think that's way too low. I think this ends up like 76, 78, something like that, where there's finishes at least in the mid 70s, getting us over that 144 number. It's just they're almost the same team exactly. Like, even when it comes down like Ken Palm rankings or whoever rankings you want to look at, they're right next to each other within a couple spots. And
I was gonna say if you squint hard enough, you might say UMass has a slightly better offense and UMass Lowell a slightly better defense. But I mean, you really got to squint pretty hard to say that. I mean, like you said, they're remarkably similar for being crosstown teams, right? Sure, I could pick a team across the country that's similar because I got 300 some odd options, but in the same city, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think that helps, because who do they practice it against? They're practicing against themselves. Here they are playing against them.
Probably.
Really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something weird out there, but they're practicing the other players on their team. But I mean, so this is going to look like they're practicing, and there's going to be just think it'll be fast. Should be a fun game to watch. I'm not sure it's on TV. Otherwise, I might have slid this one into the must-see TV segment. But either way, it should be a fun game to watch, and a lot of points.
Yeah. Absolutely. Should be a lot of points. Should be a tight contest. I'm trying to find it for us now. It looks like it's on ESPN Plus. So if you have ESPN Plus, again, we aren't sponsored by them or anything, but if you like college basketball, ESPN Plus probably worth your investment because there's so many games on it. And this one, like you said, would be worth watching.
Out there for it.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of create a little bit of a monopoly, almost grabbing all. They basically were like, if there's a game out there, we want it. It's like there's a few that go somewhere other places. You have the Mountain West Network and the WCC Network. We'll talk about that, and there's the Flow Sports, which has a couple of conferences. But it's like if it's not gobbled up by one of those or the Fox Sports grouping, it's like falls to ESPN Plus. So that's where you can go to find that one.
One of the best parts about it is sometimes you get just amazing announcers that are trying their best, and it makes it for absolutely fun to even just listen to.
Fun, confusing, disturbing. Yeah. You do get sometimes because sometimes you get the local announcers, and it's almost like it's you and me broadcasting a game, which I'm sure we would be a train wreck as well and get so sidetracked. But it's like if you and I just went out there like, all right, we're gonna broadcast this game and tell you how it's going, right?
Yeah, with as bad as I am with names, oh god, I couldn't imagine trying to call the game.
We could do a 3-man game, Cousin Jared, I could do it. You could be our sideline reporter, maybe if someone at ESPN Plus is watching this, we'd love to do that. Just
any game,
one night. Doesn't even matter how bad it is. It'd be so much.
I'll take IUPUI versus Mississippi Valley State. It'll be fun. I'll have a good time.
That would be a must-see game for bad reasons, but it would be. All right, well, that's all we've got for you then today. Jake, any parting words?
Yeah, if you do know somebody at ESPN Plus, I would love the opportunity to call a game. So please.
Fair. Same. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy all the sports betting content we provided this channel shoved right into your feed. We'll be back again tomorrow with more college basketball betting content. And until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.